Hello and welcome to Airheads, a not-so-serious look at the serious business of royal rumours, gossip and gowns. I'm Tom.
And I'm Maeve.
And what animal do you think will become extinct next?
The future king has spoken. And he's got death on the brain.
He was very determined in his question, wasn't he?
Hello, David Attenborough.
Hello, David Attenborough. What animal do you think will become extinct next?
This was mad that it was the first time we heard the Cambridge kids speaking.
Well, apart from that time when he said he'd give Kate full marks on her garden.
Oh, yeah.
20 out of 10. Okay, that's pretty good. I think Mummy's done well.
We're talking about the video of Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis grilling David Attenborough about conservation on Instagram.
And I love that they got so specific. Charlotte was right in there with spiders.
Hello, David Attenborough. I like spiders. Do you like spiders too?
This was a video filmed in the garden of Kensington Palace last month. And I'm sure you've all seen it by now. If you haven't yet, you've got to check it out. David Attenborough is brilliant. He gives these very sort of child-friendly answers, very thorough. Louis pronounces the word animal wrong. People found that incredibly cute.
What animal do you like?
People magazine, however, described it as marking the children's gentle immersion into royal duty, which I thought was pretty grim.
God, yeah, start them young.
Yeah, 2 years old Louis is. But otherwise I thought this was really excellent work from Digital Dave.
Yeah.
The Cambridge's recently hired social media guy. It was adorable and followed on very nicely from the photos last weekend of the kids meeting David Attenborough for the first time, which were also a huge hit. They were very sweet. The kids were very, very surprised, particularly Princess Charlotte.
It was a huge hit with almost everyone. Because we also saw a picture of George with a gift that he'd received from David Attenborough, a Carcharocles megalodon tooth that David had found on holiday in Malta in the 60s. And it's believed to be 23 million years old, which is not how old David Attenborough was in the 60s.
Well, all of the coverage of this was, oh my god, so sweet. He's like a granddaddy giving such a cute gift to Prince George.
Who himself has had a long history of teeth talk with Teeth Watch.
But the Times of Malta swoops in, goes straight to Malta's culture minister, Jose Herrera, and asks him about it. And he says there are some artefacts that are important to Maltese natural heritage and which ended up abroad and deserve to be retrieved. We rightly give a lot of attention to historical and artistic artefacts. However, it's not always the case with our natural history. I'm determined to effect a change in this attitude. And he said he intended to get the ball rolling on that tooth.
So exciting. I love this. So the Times of Malta also noted that fossils fall under the definition of cultural heritage as a movable or immovable object of geological importance. And in line with the provisions of the Cultural Heritage Act of 2002, their removal or excavation is now expressly forbidden.
Which was fascinating.
Yeah.
So straight away, Tom and I were freaking out. This was very exciting. Was there going to be some kind of showdown between Malta and Prince George? No, I'm only kidding. Obviously, this is not Prince George's fault at all. But that nobody around them thought that this might be a bad look is crazy to me. That Will and Kate were just like, oh, so cute, so cute.
Yeah.
But it wasn't long then. It was actually later that same day that Jose Herrera's spokesperson seemed to be rowing back these comments. They told the press, the minister would like to note that with reference to this case, it is not the intention to pursue this matter any further.
So disappointing. I was really revved up for a big showdown and I felt like I was totally robbed.
I know. And just to give you a little bit of background, Malta was a British colony until 1964 and the Queen was head of state until 1974. But they're not anymore, and they're not, well, I guess now they're happy to still capitulate, but I'm not happy one bit.
No way. This really pissed me off because I'd even seen some Cambridge stands online talking about it and saying, oh, it's very cute, but I'm sure Will and Kate will be very gracious and give the tooth back, and, you know, it'll be very polite and lovely. But it seems like this is maybe one of the first times I've really seen that Kate and Will have not lived up to their fans' expectations.
This, though, is just the latest example of the royal family facing calls for the repatriation of stolen items to their rightful lands. The Guardian had a piece outlining all the other times this has happened. We've talked before about the Kohinoor diamond. There's also the Rosetta Stone, the Parthenon marbles, the Benin bronzes that I hadn't heard of before, but they are a group of statues and sculptures that decorated the royal palace in the Kingdom of Benin, which is today part of Nigeria. And a lot of these are in the British Museum, but the Queen also has some in the royal collection, and she's holding on to them.
Well, you know what they say about getting the British to give up what they've stolen. It's like pulling teeth.
Oh. Well done, Tom.
Thanks.
Bravo.
Speaking of the Queen, though, The Sun had this crazy exclusive this week about the Queen's Christmas plans.
Oh my god, I fucking loved this story. I couldn't believe it. So, according to The Sun, royal staff have rebelled over plans to make them isolate from their families for 4 weeks to work in a COVID bubble for the Queen in Sandringham over Christmas. Said to be a group of about 20 staff members, including cleaners, laundry and maintenance workers. And if this goes ahead, it means the Queen might have to spend Christmas at Windsor Castle for the first time in 33 years.
She'll have to spend Christmas at a castle instead of a palace. Cry me a fucking river, Queen Bess.
I thought this was fascinating because, you know, I would have assumed that it would be very sympathetic to the Queen and how unfortunate, like you're saying, that she doesn't get to spend Christmas in her happy place. But actually, it wasn't like, oh, these evil staff are abandoning this poor, helpless old lady. It was that the Queen is some kind of bitch. Like, they had a quote from an insider who said, "The Queen is furious. The staff said enough is enough. It's absolutely unprecedented. Everybody wants to stay loyal, but they feel they've been pushed too far by being made to isolate from their families for Christmas."
It's so interesting to get this thing about her being furious right off the back of that comment we heard about Prince Philip being like so mad that he wasn't able to go off to Wood Farm, that he'd have to stay with the Queen, and like this real insight into the fact that they are not that happy with COVID restrictions when it actually affects them.
I know, and when they have been announcing the redundancies with their various trusts and things like that, that now to just have this story is so unflattering.
Yeah.
Now, this source did say that discussions are taking place with the team on operational matters. It's too early to speculate on implications for Christmas. But just to have this story out there now, last time I checked, there were like 500 comments on the Sun story, and almost all of them were like, who does this woman think she is? Getting people to spend 4 weeks away from their family. Yeah. Although it really didn't go much further than that. Like, I was thinking if, for example, Harry and Meghan had demanded that their staff spend 4 weeks away from their families, particularly at Christmas, we'd probably get like 2 weeks of stories out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like there's different rules.
But, you know, the Queen has been so busy being angry that she, I guess, has been neglecting her scouts. Luckily, even though the patron's not around, they've got a new president, or joint president, in the form of Kate Middleton, former Brownie and Scout leader.
We must note that she shares this position with the illustrious Duke of Kent, who we also had no fucking clue who he was.
I mean, I definitely remember what he looks like.
I do now. It's harrowing.
He's got a very distinct look. But this week, Kate joined the 12th Northolt Scout Group in West London to mark this appointment. Her and the Scouts toasted marshmallows on a bonfire and made cards to send to a local care home.
And according to the Telegraph, Kate proved an experienced marshmallow toaster, advising children, make sure it doesn't get gooey and fall off. But I think she did quite underdo her one. I think she was being too cautious.
Well, there were certainly plenty of pictures of her eating. I felt very sorry for her seeing these pictures. But there's one particularly good one that was on the Telegraph story where it's got like a little string of marshmallow goo coming from her lip to the marshmallow. But, you know, maybe that's why she was avoiding the goo, because if it was any gooier, it would have been a real mess.
It would have been an absolute nightmare. What was also a nightmare was her bloody whirlybird.
Her attempt at a whirlybird.
Attempt.
I only learned this week as a paper helicopter, but you didn't even know that either.
No, I know.
What kind of a Brit are you?
I'm certainly not a scout, I'm afraid.
So Kate and the kids cut out and decorated these whirlybirds, but Kate's promptly fell on the ground and she said, I don't think I'll get full marks.
I think Mummy's done well.
That was so funny.
Competitive to a T, that Kate. She did wear a nice outdoorsy outfit though.
Oh yeah, I was really into this. It was such a like Kate like Scout Barbie costume. She had a blue linen shirt and brown skinny trousers from Massimo Dutti, and she wore her Chloe hiking boots, which I love, and her really wild leather waistcoat, which you love.
I love this leather waistcoat because it's hideous, and I love that the brand is called Really Wild, so every time we talk about it we have to say her really wild leather waistcoat.
I think this might actually be a different one because the pattern on it looked a bit different to me, but I'll get my magnifying glass out and do it side by side later.
I can't believe it cost £500.
It's crazy for this horrible waistcoat. She also had some very interesting jewellery on, including a pair of gold disc circle earrings that she'd also worn last week, but they weren't identified until now. It turns out the earrings and the new initial necklace she's been wearing with the G, L and C on it are by an Irish designer.
Fantastic.
Hallelujah. We have been begging for Kate to wear an Irish designer, and it turns out she got these while they were in Ireland in March, which feels like a year ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But they're by a Galway-based brand called All the Falling Stars and designed by a woman named Aisling O'Brien. And she told the Telegraph that when Kate and Will were in Ireland and playing Gaelic in Salt Hill, the GA Club's physiotherapist asked Aisling to make her a couple of pieces to leave as a gift for Kate, so that the physio left them in the room where Kate was changing, and when she went back they were gone. But Aisling...
Kind of a weird way of describing it, like a weird drop. Like...
Aisling told the Telegraph that Kate wearing them had changed her life.
She said, "You hear about the Kate effect, but this is unreal. I've had 83,000 hits on my website. Previously, I'd only had a couple of orders from outside Ireland. Now I've had women from all over the world get in touch. Orders have come from Hong Kong, South Africa, Saudi Arabia."
This is just amazing. I love hearing about this.
Ishbra Aaron.
On a wild vocal. The earrings and the necklace have completely sold out, but they're still on pre-order if you wanted to get any, which I would recommend to support an Irish woman-owned business. So obviously we were delighted by this, and we are completely biased, or I am anyway, but I thought we could talk about this like little mini drama around it, because this apparently constitutes a protocol breach.
Sound the klaxons.
Exactly. According to the blog What Would Kate Do, and I saw this cited by Celebrity, royal protocol dictates that royals can't use free merchandise or gifts given to them, and gifts given to Kate are often returned to the sender or donated to charity.
Celebrity also noted a 2017 story by the Mail about how Meghan loved freebies when she was an actress, and that she would often take home goodies from influencer gifting suites. And they even did the story earlier this year, counting up all the freebies that were mentioned in Finding Freedom, whether it's like hotel stays or scented candles or private jet trips. So it's treated quite differently.
Yeah, and in that story from 2017, the Mail noted Meghan might have to avoid such opportunities if she becomes a royal wife and follow Kate's example. The Duchess turns down free clothing and gifts from people she doesn't know. So, like, I am obviously very glad that Kate didn't turn down this jewellery. Maybe I would feel differently if it wasn't an Irish brand. But it's just another example of how made up all of this protocol bullshit is anyway. But speaking of different rules for Harry and Meghan, we were rolling our eyes hard at the story this week that the Sussexes would be doing a reality TV show for Netflix.
I mean, just as Keeping Up is cancelled,
I know.
we could have got something to replace it. But no, obviously it wasn't a reality TV show.
Like, even in the Mail's report about this, the source described the reality TV show as a docu-series about their philanthropy, where Harry and Meghan would be shadowed by a camera crew for 3 months. I mean, that doesn't really sound like much of a reality TV show.
Yeah.
But the Sussexes were very quick to shut it down. Their spokesperson told the reporter Omid Scobie that they are not taking part in any reality TV shows, and the only shows in development now are the ones we have previously confirmed, the nature docuseries and the animated series celebrating inspiring women. And what I want to know is it possible that the nature docuseries is the one that was blown up into the reality show? Because that kind of sounds like what the source is describing.
Yeah, and the phrase or the term docuseries sounds like one that could be transformed into a reality show in the wrong hands.
Exactly. And, like, you know, even though they denied it, we were still hearing all week about how Harry and Meghan are the new Kardashians, while at the same time getting all of this guff about Prince William's nature documentary, which is coming out today, on Monday, if you're listening to this today, and which saw him shadowed by cameras for 2 years.
Has he no shame? He is dragging the good name of the monarchy just through the dirt, opening up his life like that.
Well, somehow they have compressed 2 years of footage into a 90-minute film. That's how much he's got going on.
Oh my God.
But what is the difference between these two projects? Like, Will's show, it seems to me, gets to have this sort of prestige gloss on it, while Harry and Meghan's reported alleged docuseries is seen as like trash TV, when in my opinion they're probably both going to be very worthy, very earnest, very boring documentaries.
Yeah, absolutely. But in case you're absolutely dying to hear all the details about Will's documentary, it's called Prince William, A Planet for Us All.
Why does that make it sound like the planet's called Prince William?
The deforestation on planet Prince William is really terrible at the moment.
Stop! But you know, like, if it was an Attenborough thing, it'd be like Earth, a planet for us all, you know?
It would be called David Attenborough, A Planet for Us All. But anyway, it's a 90-minute film, and it follows his conservation efforts on his travels around the UK, Africa and Asia, and it will include bits of Kate and Will's tour to Pakistan.
With Kate wearing her really wild waistcoat, I saw in some of the stills.
Great.
You know, get to see it in motion. This project has been in development for 2 years, as we said. So it was being filmed at the same time as Will's team would have been briefing the press on how furious he was about Harry and Meghan's ITV documentary during their South Africa tour. And more recently, how he was livid, reportedly livid, about their Netflix deal.
Just when you think there's no more room for hypocrisy in the fucking royal family, you just get details like this, and they just have infinite room to surprise me.
According to some of the reviews that I read, the documentary also shows Kate and Will picking litter on a beach, and Will saying that older politicians must listen to young people.
Oh, hang on. Is he telling politicians what to do?
Sounds like it, doesn't it, Tom?
Maybe getting a bit political.
The Telegraph noted that Will seems aware that he may be criticised for getting political, and that in the documentary he says someone has to put their head above the parapet and say, I care about this.
No. Well, he cares about it.
You know, Meghan keeps putting her head above the parapet, but instead of being hailed as some kind of great leader and royal hero, she makes people lose their own heads. Wouldn't you say, Tom?
I would, yeah, absolutely. She was speaking this week at Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit, where she presumably got a huge amount of money to do it, because the summit was only open to either members or those who were willing to pay $13,500.
So we paid. And No, obviously we did not. Fortune shared a clip from the discussion, though, in which the interviewer, Ellen McGirt, asked Meghan's advice for powerful people with stakeholders about how to weigh in on topics like the Black Lives Matter movement. And Meghan said,
"It's about being authentic. And if you look back at anything that I've said, it's really interesting because it often what ends up being inflammatory, it seems, is people's interpretation of it. But if you listen to what I actually say, it's not controversial. And actually some of it is reactive to things that just haven't happened, which is, in some ways, I think you have to have a sense of humor about it, even though there is quite a bit of gravity. And there can be a lot of danger in a misinterpretation of something that was never there to begin with."
I thought that was a really classy way of defending herself.
Yeah.
And I liked how she phrased it quite carefully. And I can imagine, you know, she was just speaking off the top of her head. So I feel like you feel really put on the spot being asked a question like that. But I thought she handled it very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked when she quoted Georgia O'Keeffe. She said, "I've already settled it for myself, so flattery and criticism go down the same drain, and I am quite free."
I love that. I wish they'd have more Georgia O'Keeffe type art going on in their home.
Yeah.
But she seems to be more into kind of Pinterest type art.
Yeah. She also said,
"And the moment that you are able to be liberated from all of these other opinions of what you know to be true, then I think it's very easy to just live with truth and live with authenticity. And that's how I choose to move through the world."
I mean, I believe that. I believe that's exactly what she tells herself every day.
And that is how she moves through the world. But I wasn't 100% convinced that this was like a perfect answer to the question about like what CEOs with stakeholders should do to weigh in on Black Lives Matter, because I think there's quite a lot of layers for like a CEO talking about these kind of things. I feel like with a lot of these CEOs, I don't think you want them to be like authentic to themselves. They need to be listening to like the people that work for them and analysing the cultures that they've created within their companies and stuff. So I thought...
So you've drawn on your business degree and you prepared some tips that we wanted to share with any CEOs listening.
Absolutely.
Anyone with stakeholders, really.
Such as myself. I mean, I don't know anything, do I? But I thought she took like a difficult question and used it to elucidate her own situation really well.
Yeah, and I mean, this got so much coverage everywhere, so I'm sure Fortune were delighted with it, and good for her for defending herself. Okay, so October is Black History Month in the UK, and Harry and Meghan marked it with a project with the Evening Standard, which is a free London newspaper over here, and I really like that they did that because the Standard must have had a fucking woeful past 6, 7, 8 months. Well, I used to read the Standard every single day because we'd be out and you'd get it, but I think I probably got it like 4 times maybe.
Yeah.
So I was pleased to see they did that because this must have been a huge boost for the Standard. But Harry and Meghan did a video interview with them that you can and should watch online, even if only for the extremely cute moment when their beagle Guy appears and like demands that they make space on the couch for him. It's so sweet.
It's very cute.
But they also say lots of great stuff in this too.
Harry describes his awakening. He says, "I wasn't aware of so many of the issues and so many of the problems within the UK and also globally as well. I thought I did, but I didn't. You know, when you go into a shop with your children and you only see white dolls, do you even think that's weird? There is not a black doll there?" And I just use that as one example of where we as white people don't always have the awareness of what it must be like for someone else of a different coloured skin, of a black skin, to be in the same situation as we are, where the world that we know has been created by white people for white people. It's not about pointing the finger, it's not about blame. I will be the first person to say, again, this is about learning and about how we can make it better.
Yeah, and I heard like a lot of people saying that they liked that Harry said this as someone who has made some very bad mistakes in terms of the Nazi costume and using the Asian slurs and things like that, and very publicly made mistakes like that. And for him to talk about this kind of, I don't like to use the word journey, but how he, you know, his awakening, as he puts it, I thought that was also so funny given how often people call him like the woke prince. I do feel like a lot of people have been dismissive of him as usual. And he's conscious of that, I think, in how he speaks about it and how he's saying it's not about pointing the finger, it's not about blame.
Yeah.
He really wants to get ahead of those headlines saying he's preaching and hectoring people. He also mentioned speaking to Ashley Banjo, who's the leader of the dance group Diversity that won Britain's Got Talent years ago. They were actually the ones that beat Susan Boyle in the final.
Still sore about that.
But they came back this season for the semi-final, and they did this routine kind of capturing the current moment, including a segment inspired by Black Lives Matter movement, and it was the subject of this absolutely ridiculous outsized controversy. The regulator Ofcom received 24,000 complaints about it, but wisely decided not to pursue it. And Harry said he spoke to Ashley soon after the performance, and he said, and that in itself, I'm sure even me talking about it will be controversial, but the reality of it is he and his team of guys put on the most amazing display. And they did. You should watch it. It's on YouTube.
It's really amazing. Meghan was also on the video, and she said she didn't even know that there was a Black History Month in the UK.
Truth be told, and I was in the UK for a few years until we moved back here, I didn't realize that there was a Black History Month in Britain. And so to have that brought to our attention was really exciting.
I really don't think it's our place to comment on this. So I was trying to find pieces by Black British writers about this, and the only ones that I could see were in The Guardian and The Times, and they noted this moment up top. The Times columnist Trevor Phillips wrote that it was a mistake. The first Black History Month was launched in 1987. For at least 2 decades, it has been officially celebrated by British governments of every stripe and marked by members of the royal family. Meghan simply reminded us how little she learnt about Britain, and in particular that she was unaware of the one moment in the year when Black Britain is acknowledged by establishment Britain.
We also saw this tweet from Woodlands Community Primary School in Birkenhead, which Harry and Meghan had visited last January. And they tweeted last November, as part of our work on Black History Month, Years 3 and 4 wrote to Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex and posted a selection. Imagine our excitement when we received a personal letter back from Buckingham Palace.
It was in November of last year, so she was in Canada at the time, but like her team might have told her.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like she's absolutely not the first royal to have no clue where these letters that are sent out by her team.
Of course, she probably gets thousands.
But it's just an awkward look.
Harry and Meghan also drew up a list of trailblazers for the Evening Standard, which was quite interesting because Harry and Meghan selected a group of high-profile people, including Bernardine Evaristo, Edward Enninful, Nicola Adams, Michaela Cole, and they asked those people to nominate the next generation of trailblazers, and they made a list of 20 names, including Liv Little, who's the founder of Galdem magazine, Lavinia Stenish, who's an educational campaigner and the founder of the Black Curriculum, the poet Caleb Femi, and many other activists and writers and dancers and charity workers, and a police officer.
Right. Harry and Meghan also wrote a piece for The Standard to accompany the list and the interview, and they said in it, for as long as structural racism exists, there will be generations of young people of colour who do not start their lives with the same equality of opportunity as their white peers. And for as long as that continues, untapped potential will never get to be realised.
The Guardian has a piece with reaction from various campaigners, one of whom is Dr. Halima Begum, who's the director of the Runnymede Trust, and she described Harry and Meghan's message as compelling and overwhelming. It tells us they understand the millennial pulse. They understand what young people care about today. They understand what's right for the future of the UK. They are the people's royals. I know that every young person, black and minority ethnic and including white, will be thinking this is a couple who actually understand our future and our nation as it is today. Just bang on.
Yeah, absolutely. It obviously wouldn't be a Prince Harry story, though, if we didn't get some follow-up from his spokesperson telling us just what it was Harry actually meant.
After their article for the Evening Standard was published, a spokesman for Prince Harry told the BBC, "The Duke believes structural racism exists in the UK, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who disagrees with that. He's not saying that Britain itself is structurally racist or that Britain is racist." And he said that Harry was referring to parts of institutions in Britain.
This is so annoying. Now, obviously we understand that what Harry and Meghan say is under more scrutiny than almost anybody else in the world, it seems, at this point. So I can forgive them with these clarifying statements when they're, you know, answering things in interviews off the top of their head, or, you know, even when they're giving a speech and maybe the tone of it is like confusing or can be misconstrued in quotes in papers and stuff like that. But this is a written piece that they've done, and that gives you the opportunity to set out exactly what it is you want to say.
Why bother to write something if you then have to rely on someone else to explain it for you? Like, wouldn't they show this copy to the spokesperson or whoever's doing their comms and have that person be able to tell them, okay, they're going to think you're saying Britain is racist. They're going to think you're saying all of Britain is structurally racist. You have to make that clear in the piece.
Yeah.
Why does it have to come after the fact?
It's not very Georgia O'Keeffe. That's all I'm saying.
It's just messy. It's sloppy. And I don't like seeing that from Harry and Meghan, because I think they can do better than that.
Yeah.
But I did think their piece in the Standard was very well written. And I thought we could mention the last line of it in our quote of the week.
Yeah.
They write, "We cannot change history, nor can we edit our past, but we can define our future as one that is inclusive, as one that is equal, and one that is colourful."
That was a great line.
I know, and it's interesting because so much of the writing that we know Meghan for is very flowery and over the top. That was just her style in the Tig, but this I thought was very strong.
Yeah, it was kind of pared back and really punchy.
I did want to mention one other. I don't know if it's really a quote as more of a quip, but Prince Charles and Camilla went to Northern Ireland this week. So weird that they are travelling abroad.
Yeah.
Part of their trip included a visit to the Ulster Museum, where they saw a hand-woven replica of the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones that had been commissioned for the end of the series. And Game of Thrones had been filmed around Northern Ireland, so that's why it was there.
It's so good. So this thing is kind of woven out of sticks, and Charles goes to stand in front of it, and you can see it coming out from behind him, and he quips, "A frame of thrones."
But like, even better than that zinger was that apparently, according to the Belfast Telegraph, Camilla tried to cajole Charles into sitting on the throne, but he refused and stayed on his feet, which makes you think he's superstitious or something, or he thought he'd be like ridiculed. Even though he didn't sit on it, I think it was the Express the next day. Do you remember I showed you they had that headline that was like, "Charles finally gets close to the throne."
So funny.
So funny.
I love Camilla just being like, go on.
Yeah.
Go and sit in it. You're never going to get to sit in it otherwise. Well, let's go on to Fit for a Queen.
Well, I do want to give a shout out to Charles's mask.
Oh, yeah.
Because we saw Charles in a mask for the first time at the Ulster Museum, although they didn't wear it inside, which just fucking keep it on, guys, you're over 70. And it was a special mask as well, and it looked great with his suit, so he should have kept it on. But the mask came from his charity Turquoise Mountain, which we talked about before, I think. It works to protect heritage and communities at risk around the world. Charles's mask was made by Nunu Pan, whose family, they've been living in a refugee camp since 2010, and they made this mask for Charles, which is a lovely blue pattern mask. Very
it was
striking.
A lot jazzier than what we've seen other male royals wearing.
Oh, absolutely.
Mask-wise. He's like ahead of the game. This is a man who's very secure in himself and his masculinity, and who knows what he likes to wear.
Sounds like the Charles effect may have you running to Turquoise Mountain to buy one of these masks.
I think it might.
They're only $6.50. But the real Fit for a Queen this week is obviously Meghan's outfit in the video interview with the Evening Standard. It fucking pissed me off so much that the quality of this video was so shitty that we didn't get any good pictures of it. But luckily, this whole look was about shape, and what a shape. Meghan was wearing a camel-coloured asymmetrical / long-sleeve top by Victor Glamour, who is a Haitian-born, New York-based designer, and she wore it with vegan leather tan trousers by Stella McCartney. I also liked that Emily Sheffield, who's the new editor of the Evening Standard, wrote on Instagram that Meghan looked utterly incredible, which we could, of course, see with our own eyes that was true.
Although quite pixely eyes. It's difficult to get Wi-Fi that will cover 16 bathrooms.
Well, we had crystal clear imagery on the America's Got Talent appearance and the Fortune Summit. But I thought both of these pieces were very interesting for Meghan. The designer Victor Clermont thanked Meghan for wearing his top in honour of Black History Month in the UK. And obviously we're obsessed with 2 leather trouser looks in the space of a few weeks.
I might need to get leather trousers to go with my mask.
I'm not totally on board with vegan leather, but I just love the look.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was worth noting that for her Fortune appearance, she wore a blue and white striped shirt from With Nothing Underneath, which I have and love and would very much recommend. But it's a British brand, and they did an interview with The Telegraph a month or a few months ago where the designer said that Meghan apparently bought every single shirt design in their range.
Wow.
I mean, it's not like a crazy amount, but makes a lot of sense considering how much she loves a good button down. I thought this was significant because it was sort of continuing this trend that we've seen of her wearing British designers, including Victoria Beckham, Stella McCartney, the jewellery brand Monica Vinader. It seems purposeful to me, though. Like, she doesn't want to be seen suddenly in loads of American brands. Like, even though she didn't wear British brands that often when she was in the UK in the first place. But it seemed like a pointed thing to me.
But she's probably just realised that British design is the best design in the entire world.
Okay. Princess Anne. What about first in line, Tom? Who's it for you this week?
No question. It's Charlotte. For her mad spider question.
I like spiders. Do you like spiders too?
Oh my god, happy Halloween, guys.
I know, she was so seasonal and she was very sure of what she wanted to ask.
Exactly. I would also credit Digital Dave, though, with this idea for the video. Like, the Cambridge's social media has been so good recently. They also had a video this week of them on Zoom with a koala.
Yeah.
Which was very good. And Kate in like a bright yellow top. It was very strong content.
Yeah.
So props to Digital Dave. Also a reminder that Harry and Meghan urgently need to get back on Instagram.
Yeah, please.
We got another one of those stories this week about how they privately congratulated Princess Eugenie on her pregnancy. It's like, is it private if you're going to People magazine to tell them that you privately congratulated? Just have an Instagram and then you can post a picture of Eugenie.
Or just comment on their picture.
Yeah, exactly. What are you waiting for? But next week is a huge week for the Will stands.
And also a week that we're taking off.
Well, I need to take the whole week to prepare because Will is finally talking about the Earthshot Prize again. After months of silence, we got an update that the Earthshot Prize will be launching on October 8th. Whatever that means.
No idea what a launch means of one of these things. But yeah, like I said, we will be taking next week off, but we will be doing a book club episode. We're going to be talking about Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston.
Yeah, so we hope you come back and listen and tell us all your thoughts. Our feelings were quite different about it than the first time we read it. So we're wondering what you guys think. Otherwise, hope you have a great week and thank you so much for listening. Bye.
Bye.
My God. It's a megalodon.